Hi, boys and girls. How are you this week? Thank you for submitting your Love That Dog Lesson 3. And I hope you enjoyed completing the book last week. Wish we could have done it together face to face, but it was still nice to complete the story. I wanted to start, I'm actually going to minimize the screen because I wanted to start with another live chat demonstration. It's been very helpful for some families that pop on and we answer some quick questions. They could even be tech-related questions, other coursework-related questions, a couple library-related questions with ebooks and database things we have. So wanted to show you that again quickly, and then we'll come back to our Love That Dog lesson. Okay. So to get to our live chat feature, you go to the district website here, click on Library Chat, and click on this blue icon right here to initiate a chat screen. Okay. We've had a lot coming in, but it's been great. It's been a big success, and I'd love to see you on there as well. Another way to get to the live chat is through your Google Classrooms. It's posted as well. Okay, so let's go back to the lesson for today. Sorry. Okay. So let's review what we did last week. Last week, I ended the lesson by letting you know we would be analyzing a model paragraph before you write your own. So the learning targets. I can describe what inspired Jack to write poetry using evidence from his thoughts, words, and actions. And that was part A. And our second learning target, I can write a focus statement that clearly states what inspired Jack to write poetry. So this is a model informative paragraph. This is something that you won't be doing for 2 weeks, but it's helpful to look at a model so you kind of know where you're headed. In Love That Dog by Sharon Creech. Even though he doesn't understand poetry at first, the main character, Jack, is inspired to write poetry. Jack was inspired by things that happened in his classroom, and you can see this in his poetry. For example, on November 6th, he writes about how he likes his poems typed up on blue paper and hung up on the yellow bulletin board. On January 17th, he writes a poem about how people write to make pictures with words, but other people think they are poems because of the way that they look. Also, on April 4th, he writes poetry to thank his teacher for typing up his poem. Another example of Jack being inspired by things in his classroom is the poem he writes on April 17th, when his teacher persuades him to write to Walter D. Myers. Jack shows us that inspiration for writing poetry can come from many different places. Okay, now let's break this paragraph down and talk about why it is a model informative paragraph. So I broke it into different colors, and feel free to hit pause or take some notes on this part because this will help you for your informative paragraph writing in library, but also in the classroom. So the first portion in red, in Love That Dog by Sharon Creech. Even though he doesn't understand poetry at first, the main character, okay, so I highlighted that part in red because that introduces the book and the author. And that's very important. You really cannot begin a paragraph such as this without introducing to the reader the title of the book and the author. So in this paragraph, that has been done in red. So what's been done in green? Now, green is your assignment for the week, by the way, okay? Green is called, or I'll call it our focus statement. Jack is inspired to write poetry. Jack was inspired by things that happened in his classroom, and you can see this in his poetry. So again, that is the focus statement. That is the only thing I'm asking you to submit this week. I want you to start thinking about this paragraph. If you want to go ahead, I'm going to give you the ability to in our Google Classroom. But that focus statement is the only thing due for me this week. Okay, now let's move on to yellow. Yellow is kind of the meat of the paragraph, as you can tell. It's got the most in my paragraph. Yellow has several sentences in my writing. And yellow is to describe details from the text and how they show what inspired Jack. So in yellow, for example, on November 6th, he writes a poem about how he likes poems typed up on blue paper and hung up on the yellow bulletin board. On January 17th, he writes a poem about how people write to make pictures with words, but other people think they are poems because of the way they look. Also, on April 4th, he writes poetry to thank his teacher for typing up his poem. Another example of Jack being inspired by things in his classroom is the poem he writes on April 17th, when his teacher persuades him to write to Walter Dean Myers. So, boys and girls, can you see in my writing that is the area in yellow where I describe details from the text? That really supports my focus statement. Okay. Finally, in green, but a different shade of green, is my concluding sentence, because you always have to have a concluding sentence as well in your paragraph writing. And this just restates the topic. It's really kind of repeating the topic in some different wording. So again, in green, Jack shows us that inspiration from writing poetry can come from many places. Okay, so again, I'm going to just reread the darker green, my second sentence in my paragraph, because that's what I'm requiring of you to type up this week. Jack is inspired to write poetry. Jack was inspired by things that happened in his classroom, and you can see this in his poetry. So how are you going to do that? How are you going to type that up this week? Okay, write your focus statement. An informative paragraph, clearly states a focus about what inspired Jack and stays focused throughout the piece. I put in bold, stays focused. Think about that, okay? That's going to be your focus for your entire paragraph. Go back to the last slide. Read the portion in green again. Okay, I'm not going to do that, but you can do this again. Pause, rewind this video I'm making. How can you say the focus statement in a different way? Write your own and submit it in our Google Drive. So you're taking this focus statement, thinking about what we read over the past couple of months, thinking about our character, thinking about our book, Love That Dog. How can you take this and rewrite it in your own words? Now, I've added here, start your mid-Unit 2 assessment document. You will also find this in our Google Drive. I'll go over it more next week for you, but some of you are going to want to get a head start. Because this is only typing up the one sentence, and I recommend you do that. Why not? So again, feel free to get a head start on the show, but this week only the focus statement is due. Okay, that's it for now. You will see this along with your focus statement Google Doc and the Unit 2 show Google Doc will be posted in our Google Classroom. All right, guys, miss you, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Hop on to that live chat so I can see you. We can always schedule a go-to meeting too and get together kind of face-to-face on there if you need some help. All right, have a great week. Miss you guys.